Let's go. It is July the 30th, 2018. Kind of a topic I really want to get into, and this is because, again, on this channel, I really want to talk kind of some of the side notes. The X's and O's in the sport of football, specifically football, and there will be other sports that I'll get into, but specifically in football, the X's and O's is great, and I will address some of those things, especially once the season gets started, and kind of just watching, how the Bucks specifically do, but I really enjoy watching press conferences, and anyone who watches press conferences or listens to anything regarding sports has realized that it has gotten so robotic over the years. It has just gotten to a point where it is so politically correct. Everybody is watching what they say. It is just crazy. And I feel old when I say it, but I kind of miss the good old days. You know, when these guys would just let it fly and just say what they wanted to say. And, people got really upset with Marshawn Lynch when he did his whole just kind of like, I'm not saying a word thing, but I understood where he was coming from. The dude knew, like, if he said what he really wanted to say, he's probably going to get himself in some trouble. And maybe he's just not that good at faking the funk, I can appreciate somebody for just keeping their mouth shut instead of feeding me a line. So I guess it's one of those things where this is why I sometimes I find these press conferences even more fascinating now, because I have to really watch and weed through all this robotic talk for like one snippet. I gotta watch like a 15-minute presser just to find 10 to 30 seconds, somewhere in that range, of just, all right, this was from the heart. And it just doesn't come along very long nowadays. It's so rare. But I guess hunting for that, searching for that one little thing, that one quote that jumps out at me, it really means a lot, and so I enjoy it. I think I probably started enjoying it more and more once I got into management at my previous job. I started really looking at the way that these coaches talk to their players, the way that they handle their players. Some of the best coaches in the league, how they get the best out of their players, the best performance out of their guys. Because when you look at the NFL, right, everyone is talented, Everyone is talented. The separation from the best to the worst is not that much. And so in my opinion, out of all the major sports, right, I feel as though football is probably on the tops of my list as far as how important the head coach is. Now, you could debate, right, with baseball being such a long season and how much, influence they have. You could debate with basketball, but I always look at, like, I give my reference to basketball, and I look at a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, right, and their head coaches over the last 4 or 5 years, or whenever LeBron was there. And do I think that it made any difference who the head coach was? I don't think it made any difference who the head coach was. I look at the Golden State Warriors, and I ask myself, is Steve Kerr really the reason why that Golden State Warriors team is so good? I don't know. Phil Jackson, he may be the one exception that I said, man, this dude, the Zen master, this dude, he knew how to manipulate. He knew how to just get the best out of his guys. Could probably debate hockey as well. So I could be open to having a discussion about which sport is, the most important when it comes to having a really good coach or a manager. But I just feel like the NFL is so important from a manager standpoint, right? And it's funny because in the NFL they don't call them managers, they call them coaches, but I actually feel like the best coaches in the NFL are really managers. They're managers. They've got, their defensive line coaches, they've got their assistant coaches, their coordinators, they've got all these guys that are around, and ultimately they've got to manage, them and make sure they're all doing their job, because if they're not doing their job, then ultimately the head coach is going to lose his head. And so it's just, I find it so intriguing, and why I really enjoy listening to them talk and just kind of seeing their mindset and where they're coming from, and then trying to take that and somehow apply that into, you know, where I work, and just kind of, I don't know, I enjoy it. I look at it a little bit differently like that. And you know, it's, I don't know why I'm going on that sidetrack there, but nevertheless, I do that quite a bit. If you watch my other channel, you would know this. But this is what I find so fascinating about press conferences. I really do. I am so intrigued by it, even with all the robotic talk. But you know, I watched a few, and I was looking for something that I could talk about today, after watching a few of these press conferences, and unfortunately it was just kind of some robotic nonsense. And you know, this time of year is so early in the off season and training camp that you're really not going to bait these guys into saying too much right now. It's going to be just a lot of this politically correct, let me just say the right thing, you know, kind of stuff. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this training camp goes, and then once we get into the preseason and we get into these longer pressers, we'll see if we can find somebody slipping up and actually exposing themselves. And that doesn't mean necessarily in a bad way. Sometimes it's a good way that you kind of express who you are. Mike Evans is known for that. Sometimes he'll let it out there and he'll say some things, and you know, whether you agree with it or not, I can appreciate authenticity, and I love authenticity. I talk about that on my other channel a lot. So I can appreciate it, and I love it. I fiend for it. But anyways, that's about all I got. I'm gonna keep grinding. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm always gonna trust the process. I will talk to y'all later. I am out.